In the heart of ancient Ukraine, there is a demon so terrible, he cannot open his own eyes. Because if he did, his gaze would kill God's own light. To see the demon, subscribe now. Every culture has its ultimate boogeyman, a creature that embodies pure terror. In Slavic folklore, that name is Vai, popularized by the 19th century writer Nikolai Gogol in his masterful tale of Gothic horror. Vai is not just a monster. He is a force of nature, a primordial titan of the underworld whose very gaze is death itself. But Gogol didn't invent him. He merely recorded a legend that has been whispered in the villages of Ukraine for centuries. A story used to frighten children and warn the arrogant. This is the story of a foolish young student who, through one arrogant act, came face to face with the master of all demonic things. Our story begins, as many do, with a simple journey, a moment of youthful carelessness that spirals into an inescapable nightmare. Meet Khoma Brut, a student at the Kiev Theological Seminary. He is, by all accounts, an unremarkable man. He enjoys the simple pleasures, a strong drink, a hearty meal, a good joke. He finds lectures on philosophy and rhetoric intolerably dull, but he knows his prayers by heart. His faith is simple, almost instinctual, a habit learned in childhood rather than a deep theological conviction. He is boastful, a little lazy but good-natured. He is, in short, a perfectly ordinary man. And that is the true horror of this story. The terrors that are to come do not happen to a great saint or a great sinner. They happen to someone just like us. As the semester ends, Khoma and his friends set out on the long walk home, a journey that will take them across the vast, empty plains of Ukraine. As night falls, Khoma realizes he has taken a wrong turn and is hopelessly lost. The cheerful mood of the afternoon gives way to a creeping dread. The steppe at night is a different world. An ocean of grass under an ocean of stars, silent except for the mournful cry of the wind. After hours of wandering, his feet aching, his stomach empty, he sees a faint light in the distance at a single farmstead, a tiny island of life in the immense darkness. Exhausted, he knocks on the door, hoping for a meal and a place to sleep. An old woman opens the door. She is ancient, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, but her eyes are sharp and unnervingly bright. She grudgingly agrees to let him stay but refuses him food, pointing him to an empty sheep pen. In the dead of night, she comes to him. And now, there is no mistaking the evil in her eyes. They glow with an unholy fire. Before he can react, she leaps onto his back, her bony legs locking around him. A supernatural force lifts them from the ground, crashing through the roof and into the night sky. He becomes her steed, a flying horse of flesh and blood. He feels a strange, intoxicating, demonic pleasure in the flight, soaring above the sleeping earth. But a part of him, the simple seminarian, remembers his faith. He begins to chant the prayers and exorcisms he knows. The witch weakens, her grip loosens. As they land, Khoma, filled with a primal rage, grabs a heavy log and beats the old woman without mercy. But with each blow, a terrible transformation occurs. The old hag's screams turn into the groans of a young woman. When he finally stops, his arms aching, he looks down. Lying at his feet is not an old witch, but the most beautiful girl he has ever seen, gasping her last breath. Horrified by what he has done, by the sin he has committed, Khoma flees into the night, running without stopping until he reaches the safety of his seminary's walls in Kiev, hoping to bury the nightmare in study and prayer. But the nightmare has only just begun. A few days later, a delegation of grim-faced Cossacks on black horses arrives at the seminary, causing a stir. They are sent by a wealthy and powerful chieftain. Their master's beautiful daughter, they announce, has returned home one day, mysteriously and brutally beaten, and died shortly after. Her final, dying wish was that one man, and one man only, should read the Psalms over her body for 3 nights. The seminary student, Khoma Brut. Khoma's blood runs cold. The rector, seeing a chance to curry favor with the powerful chieftain, orders Khoma to go. Trapped by the rector's command and the Cossacks' thinly veiled threats, Khoma is taken on a long journey to a remote village. He is led to the manor, into a room where the body lies in an ornate, open casket. He looks down and the world stops. In the casket lies the very same which he killed. Her last wish was not a request. It was a summons. A summons for her murderer to attend her funeral. The first night. The heavy church doors are locked behind him. Khoma is alone. The silence is absolute, broken only by the frantic beating of his own heart and the sputtering of the candles he has lit. The painted eyes of the saints on the ancient icons seem to watch him with sorrowful, pitying expressions. He knows he is not truly alone. He takes a piece of chalk and, with a trembling hand, draws a circle around his lectern. A holy barrier, a sanctuary he prays will hold. He opens the psalter and begins to read, his voice shaking. The hours crawl by. 1 hour. 2. Nothing. Perhaps it was all a dream? Then, the clock strikes midnight. A low groan echoes from the coffin. The lid, which had been nailed shut, shudders and falls to the floor. The dead witch sits up. Her eyes are closed, but her face, beautiful even in death, is twisted into a mask of hatred. She gets out of the coffin and begins to walk. Her movements are stiff, unnatural, the motions of a puppet. She roams the church, sniffing the air, her arms outstretched, her dead eyes searching for him. She passes so close he can smell the grave on her. Her cold fingers brush against the invisible wall of his chalk circle, and she recoils as if burned. She cannot see him. She cannot touch him. The circle makes him invisible to her. For hours she circles him, a predator stalking its prey, gnashing her teeth in a display of impotent fury. As the first faint cry of a rooster signals the dawn, she lets out a final, frustrated shriek and returns to her coffin. When the villagers unlock the door, they find Khoma Brut pale and shaken, his dark hair now streaked with gray. The second night, Khoma spends the day drinking, trying to fortify his spirit with alcohol, but it only dulls his senses, not his terror. That evening he is led back to the church. He redraws his circle, his hands now shaking so violently he can barely hold the chalk. Midnight. This time, there is no slow awakening. The witch leaps to her feet in the coffin, her eyes still closed, and begins to screech a terrible, guttural incantation in a language not meant for human ears. And the church answers her call. A sound of leathery wings fills the air, a cacophony of shrieks and hisses. From the shadows, from cracks in the walls, from behind the holy icons, a legion of demonic creatures emerges. They have the wings of bats, the claws of birds, and the eyes of wolves. They swarm the church, clinging to the walls, crawling on the ceiling, a tide of darkness trying to overwhelm the small island of candlelight where Khoma stands. They cannot enter his circle, but their presence is a torment. The witch, seeing her minions are useless, unleashes her full power. She gets back into her coffin. It rises into the air and becomes a demonic battering ram, flying at furious speed around the church, smashing into the invisible barrier of Khoma's circle again and again. The impacts shake the very foundations of the building. With splinters, icons fall from the walls. Khoma, now beyond coherent thought, closes his eyes and screams his prayers, his mind on the verge of shattering. The circle flickers. It dims. But it holds. Just as it seems it will break, the rooster crows. The demons vanish. The coffin crashes to the floor. The next morning, Khoma is found completely white-haired, unable to speak or stand on his own. He has survived, but he is a broken man. The third day, Khoma wakes with a single, clear thought in his shattered mind. Escape. He can't endure another night. He waits for a moment when the villagers are distracted and he bolts, running into the open steppe with no destination, fueled only by pure animal terror. But there is no escape. The chieftain's men are watching. They let him run, almost as if enjoying the chase, before easily catching him on their swift horses. They bring him back, not with anger, but with a cold, grim pity. They know where they are taking him. They are leading a condemned man to his execution. Khoma no longer struggles. The fight has gone out of him. He drinks the gorilka they offer him, but feels no warmth. He is already a ghost. The third and final night. He is locked in. The silence in the church is different tonight. It is not empty. It is heavy, pregnant, waiting. Khoma draws his circle, a sloppy, desperate line. He opens the psalter, but the words are a blur. His prayers are no longer a shield. They are the desperate babbling of a man who knows his faith has failed him. Midnight. She rises. Not slowly, not stiffly, but in an instant, she is standing in her coffin perfectly still. and her eyes are open. They burn like hot coals in the darkness. She doesn't need to search for him anymore. She knows where he is. She doesn't move. She just stands there, a statue of vengeance, and begins to whisper. The whisper grows into a chant, the chant into a scream, a sound that shakes the very timbers of the ancient church. Her previous minions, the lesser demons, are not enough. Her own power is not enough. Tonight, she calls for her master. Bring Vai, she shrieks, and the sound itself has the force of a physical blow. The church groans in agony. And then a sound like thunder. A wall of the church doesn't just fall, it disintegrates. And in the gaping hole, silhouetted against the stormy night, stands something new. It is huge, squat, and clumsy, its skin like cracked, dry earth. Its arms and legs are gnarled like ancient tree trunks. But its face is hidden behind enormous, fleshy eyelids that hang to the very floor. This is Vai, the chieftain of the gnomes, the lord of the underworld. He cannot see. Lift my eyelids. I cannot see, he bellows, his voice the grinding of rocks. Hordes of demons rush to obey. They pull and heave, struggling to raise the heavy curtains of flesh. Khoma hears an inner voice screaming at him. Do not look. Do not look. He knows that to look is to die. But the morbid curiosity, the sheer paralyzing terror of the moment, is too much. He cannot resist one single, fatal glance. He looks. For a fraction of a second, he sees an eye. A vast, black, empty orb. It is not a living eye. It is a gateway to an eternity of nothingness. And that nothingness rushes into him. The gaze of Vai sees through all protection, all magic, all faith. It does not kill the body. It annihilates the soul. Khoma Brut lets out a single, silent scream, and falls to the floor dead. In the distance, the rooster crows. The demons, caught in their moment of triumph, shriek as the morning light approaches. But it's too late. They are frozen in place, grotesque statues of horror, and as the first rays of sun touch the church, they crumble into dust. It is a masterpiece of horror. But where did Gogol get this incredible story? He claimed it was a folk tradition he merely recounted. But the truth is more complex. While the name Vai is incredibly rare in recorded folklore, the concept is not. The name itself is likely derived from the Ukrainian word adia, meaning eyelash. But the character is a brilliant synthesis of ancient, pre-Christian beliefs. The true prototype for Vai is likely Nyei, or Nav, the ancient Slavic god of the underworld and death. He was the stern judge of souls, a chthonic deity whose power was rooted in the earth itself. This perfectly matches Gogol's description of Vai being covered in black soil and roots. But what about the gaze? This is a near-universal motif in Indo-European mythology, a shared ancestral fear of the evil eye. We see it in the Irish myth of Balor, the king of the demonic Fomorians, whose single toxic eye could destroy an army. We see it in the Greek myth of Medusa, whose gaze turned men to stone. Gogol took this universal fear and gave it a uniquely Slavic form. Vai's eyelids aren't just a grotesque detail, they are deeply symbolic. They are so heavy because they are literally weighed down by the damp, black earth of the underworld. He cannot open them himself because the world of the living is not his to see. He is an intruder, a force of another realm that must be physically unveiled by his servants. His gaze is not just a weapon. It is a rupture in the fabric of reality, a direct intrusion of the underworld into our own. A power so ancient and unnatural that it annihilates the soul of any mortal who beholds it. Gogol's genius was to take these fragmented pagan beliefs, the Lord of the Dead, the Evil Eye, the Witch, and weave them into a terrifyingly coherent Christian morality tale about the doom that awaits a man of weak faith. The story became an icon of Gothic horror. The 1967 Soviet film adaptation, the only horror film ever officially produced in the USSR, traumatized a generation and became a cult classic, solidifying the image of Vai in popular culture. Today his echoes can be seen everywhere, from video games to fantasy art, the ultimate Slavic demon. Vai is a story of transformation. A forgotten god becomes a folk boogeyman, who becomes a literary icon, and finally, a modern monster. It's a powerful reminder that the things we fear the most often have the deepest roots. And it serves as a chilling warning. Never make a deal with a witch, always respect the dead. And if you ever hear a voice command, lift my eyelids, do not, under any circumstances, look.